Greetings, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of In the Balance, where we're talking about how to achieve our goals of fulfillment and no regrets in your work and personal life. I'm Corinne McKay, and I'm excited to be here with you. It's the second to last episode of this first season of In the Balance. Next week, we're going to talk about fulfillment and no regrets specifically, and then I'm going to go on hiatus for a little bit to work on some other projects. So in this episode, as promised, we're going to talk about tips for perfectionists and overachievers. So if you're successful as a freelancer, the chances are that you are a perfectionist, an overachiever, or both. Raise your hand. That's me. For example, I'm not a hyper-perfectionist. I can definitely tolerate some things in life not being perfect, but I am definitely a compulsive overachiever. So whether it's my translations or my blog or the food I bring to my daughter's bake sale, I like to do it just a little better than everybody else probably would do. So those characteristics, being a perfectionist and an overachiever, they definitely have some pluses. Nobody likes to deal with people who are late and sloppy and can't follow directions or meet deadlines. But being a perfectionist and an overachiever can also be problematic, not least of all because it can keep you from being happy, right? Because other people can't ever meet your expectations, or you're so afraid of making a mistake that you never try anything new, or you're so inflexible that other people have a hard time working with you, or you might even do things like miss deadlines because you're going over and over and over your translations to an extent that's no longer helpful. So the question is, while holding on to the positive sides of those characteristics, how can we minimize the negative ones? So I have a couple ideas for you. Tip 1, trust your processes. So for example, with your translations, maybe you create a QA process where you do the translation, you check it against the source document, and then you proofread just the target document. And then, because you trust that process, you can submit the translation to the client without fearing that there could be a mistake in it, for example. Tip 2, pick something to not be perfect at and have a deliberately imperfect standard for that thing. So for example, mine is my house. I don't want my house to be gross because I want to be able to have people over without them like not wanting to sit on the furniture or eat food that was cooked in my kitchen. But that's my standard. The house cannot be gross, and that's how clean I keep it, not gross. Tip 3, keep a sense of humor. So being a perfectionist and an overachiever can be like having a little dictator in your head all the time, telling you that you're not good enough, right? So there's a reason why a lot of dictatorships ban stand-up comedians because they get you to see the sort of ridiculous side of a lot of situations. So same way, when you like accidentally copy someone on an email that's talking about them, or you leave a nasty comment in a document that you send to a client, it's in a way it's catastrophic, but it's also kind of funny, right? You'll probably get a lot of mileage about that story when you tell other people about the rude thing you said about the client and left it in the translation. So you just have to kind of embrace the humor in it. Tip 4, put time limits on things that you are tempted to get compulsive about, and then tell yourself, finished is better than perfect. So as an example, when I make these videos, I'm always thinking of the things I could do better with them. I could put in a title slide. I could do something different with the lighting. I could make a little set for them so that the background always looks the same instead of whatever conference room is available in my office. But basically, they're okay the way they are. They're not great. They're okay. So I give myself half an hour to write the outline for the episode and record it. And in that half hour, whatever gets done is what gets done. Tip 5, create policies rather than making case-by-case decisions. So a lot of us have trouble saying no because we feel compelled to say yes to every request that somebody makes. And it can be really hard to repeatedly say, like, I can't do that because of this specific reason. So here's what you can do. Create policies. Like, I don't take work calls on weekends. That's not a snap decision, it's a policy. Then instead of saying, I can't talk to you on Saturday morning because I have to drive my daughter to a soccer game, you just apply the policy. No work calls on weekends. So in my last episode where we talked about boundaries, a couple of people commented that they put their office hours in their email signature and say, I don't immediately respond to email outside these hours. That's a great example of a policy that could really help you with that problem saying no. So there you go. Create some policies. Put time limits on things that you tend to get obsessive about. Keep your sense of humor. Pick something to not be perfect at and trust your process. Now, over to you. What are your best tips for staying happy as a perfectionist and an overachiever? And I will talk to you again in 2 weeks.